Okay, good morning, everybody. I sent a couple of Maramakaimis by WhatsApp. Does that work? Can you see it? Okay. I have a sugi here that I'm interested in, going from Indian to Indian and similar inyanim that we've been talking about. And that is the klal and shas, klal and halacha of Osek b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah, which I'm sure, as you all know, means that if you're busy with one mitzvah, so if another mitzvah comes up, leave it alone. Don't get involved in the other mitzvah because you're already osek in a mitzvah. And there's two pshatim that the Rishonim say. I'm not sure it's a machlekes, but it's two pshatim that the Rishonim say. One pshat is osek b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah, that since you're already engaged in a mitzvah, there's your pater, like imagine like it's raining mitzvahs. So once you're engaged in a mitzvah, you've already had it, you've already gotten it, and you can't become, your goof can't become chayiv in any other mitzvahs. You're already mitzvah. I'm doing a mitzvah. Give the job to someone else. You could say to Hashem, or another pshat that the Rishonim say is that the reason for it is because if you leave one mitzvah, you're busy doing a mitzvah, and you leave that mitzvah to go to another mitzvah, there's a kind of a bizayin going on to the first mitzvah. So it's not even a question of you're mechuyev or not mechuyev, or if the chiyuv is chal on you, but a different kind of a thing that let's say, I'm just giving a simple example. Let's say you're talking to somebody and you're having a conversation with somebody, and it's all is well, and then somebody comes over and starts talking to you. So somebody else comes over and starts talking to you. So obviously, if you just change people you're talking to, that's rude. But the reason it's rude is because my conversation was only good until you had another conversation. So it's just filling up a gap. So you're osek b'conversation, you're pater conversation, or say, look, I'm only mechuyev to talk to one person at once. The other person's going to have to wait. So obviously, barring pikuach nefesh and all kinds of klolim that we'll touch upon, but that's the yesod. The yesod of his osek b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah. This is a saying which was brought down to us from Rabbi Yaacov Haber, and many places in Shas. It says that here, I'm looking right here in Sukkah Chavav. The Gemara says a number of, as well as says exact same lashon in many places. Rabbi Yaacov Haber, Haya Oimer, Ha'osek b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah. Now the Gemara challenges this yesod on many cases, in the mitzvah of Sukkah, and the mitzvah of Korban Pesach, and the mitzvah, all kinds of mitzvahs, mitzvah of Tefillah, mitzvah of Kriyas Shema. If you're reading Kriyas Shema, so you're pater from doing some other mitzvah that comes up. Somebody's going around asking for tzedakah. So it's not just like you're allowed to be mafsik. You're not allowed to be mafsik. It could be your pater, the Kriyas Shema, in the middle of doing the mitzvah Kriyas Shema. So, but the Gemara challenges this. I don't want to go into the whole thing because it's a wide sugya. But suffice it to say that Rabbi Yaacov Haber Haya Oimer used to always say to be posed many halachic questions of priority, that osek b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah. So a classic example of this, and this is getting into what I want to speak about, is the Shulchan Aruch in Yeridei Reish Mem. If you have it, do you want me? I can put it on the screen too, should I? Or you have it? The Shulchan Aruch says in Reish Mem, Siman Yud Beis. And the reason I sent it to you is because I just want you to follow the Lashonos carefully. Lashonos are very important. So this is in Hilchos Kibbutz Ve'em. Now this is, I must say, a very practical and common. Somebody's taking care of their parents, whether they're old, whether they're young. And Omer Lai Aviv Hashkeni Mayim. Your father says to you, can you get me some water? It's a mitzvah deraisa. I said to my daughter yesterday, she was in the house, and I said, you want to do a mitzvah deraisa? Go bring me a glass of water. Easy mitzvah deraisa. So Amar Lai Aviv Hashkeni Mayim. So your father says to you, Hashkeni Mayim. V'yesh lefanav, says the Shulchan Aruch scenario, the yesh lefanav lasos mitzvah oiveres. But you're let's say you're just about to do, come on, Dad, water right now. I'm just about to go out to go in kivuras hameis or levaya. I'm just about to go out to a levaya. Levaya is at 3:00. I got to leave now. I can't start making coffee for you now. You don't have to say it like that. So what's the halacha? So the Shulchan Aruch calls the levaya mitzvah veris. Obviously, the levaya is now. It's not going to be later. And if you don't go now, you're not going to get to this levaya. So what do? Do you give your father or mother a cup of water, or do you go to the levaya? So it says the Shulchan Aruch, a very clear psak based on the Gemara. If somebody else can do the mitzvah, how does somebody else do the mitzvah of levaya? Meaning, so the Gemara sets forth a scenario. You're probably familiar with the Gemara in Sugyos. It sets up a scenario that sometimes people need you at the levaya, and sometimes they don't need you at the levaya. So the easy way to calculate that is if he has kol tzarchai, does he have enough people? Is it mechubad for him? Okay, it's always good another guy. But it's efshar hidei acher. It's not like he's not going to be buried or he's not going to have a minyan. Efshar hidei acher. Or the Gemara says that the tzarich, like if it's Talmud Chacham, it's a levaya of a Talmud Chacham. So then everybody has to go to the levaya of a Talmud Chacham. Kol ha'ir, certainly his talmidim have to go. So that's always efshar hidei acher. If it's a gadol ador, the whole generation has to go. So the whole country has to go to the levaya. Hence, we find levayas with 500,000 people. But all those. But if it's a regular sort of a regular levaya, in efshar lemitzvah sh'yasa hidei acher, and they don't really need me. So it says the Shulchan Aruch yasok b'kibud b'chvoid aviv. So let me just summarize this. So the halacha that the Shulchan Aruch is saying here, and it's exactly the lashon of the Rambam, by the way. The halacha that the Shulchan Aruch is saying here is that it's talking about a case you have not engaged in a mitzvah, correct? It's talking about a case where you haven't engaged in a mitzvah. You're talking about, I'm just about to get ready to go. I haven't really engaged in the mitzvah of levayas hameis, or it could be a chassan, or it could be whatever it might be. I haven't engaged, and then that's where I was gonna go, and then my father asked me for some water. So kibbud av, this is the point of the Shulchan Aruch, is a very big mitzvah, and really, nobody else can do the kibbud av. Nobody else can do your kibbud av except for you. You have an opportunity here. So we're not talking about a case of Osek mitzvah, correct? We're not talking about a case you're Osek mitzvah. You're making a decision. Which mitzvah should I do right now? So on this we say you're making a decision. So if it's possible, do the kibbud av. In other words, if they're not going to really miss you at the levaya, do the kibbud av. If not, if they are going to miss you, Shulchan Aruch continues, I'm skipping the Ramah. If there is nobody else to do the mitzvah, so you leave kibbud av behind. Why that is unclear at this moment. Why? What's the difference? I have two mitzvahs. Let me make a choice. But I guess more important that this guy should be buried than. And also it's a mitzvah veris. Although giving your father water can also be a mitzvah veris. You're going to give him water tomorrow. That's not the same thing as giving him water today. But that's halacha. Kach pasak Shulchan Aruch. Imein sham acherem lasos yasik b'mitzvah v'yaniach kibbud av. Leave your father and go to the levaya. Now I go back. All this is talking about when you're making a choice. The Ramah says, though, let's go up a line. Im hischel b'mitzvah tchila, but let's say you're already at the levaya, so you get a phone call from your father. You're at a levaya. and you get a phone call from your father, like, can you come home and give me some water? I'm thirsty. So you don't go home. Im hischel b'mitzvah, says Ramat Yigmar, you should finish that mitzvah. Why? The Osek b'mitzvah, pater min mitzvah. Because now I'm involved with the Levaya and I'm pater from the kibbut avayim. Yeah. If it sounds difficult to, for some reason, if it sounds difficult to comprehend or to picture the situation, but imagine you're in Chutz La'aretz and you're doing a mitzvah, you're in the army, you're doing a mitzvah, you're doing something which you're doing a mitzvah, and your father says, come home, I need you. So what do you do? So I'm Osek in a mitzvah, oiveres specifically, and if I don't do this, I've already engaged. So once I'm engaged, so listen, Dad, Osek v'mitzvah, pater min mitzvah. Is this clear to everybody? Is the halachah is clear, logical to everybody? Okay, that's the din.
Question in the Shulchan Aruch when he says yaniach, is that different than v'yazov? Does that mean come back, or like leave it for, like yaniach sounds like put it down, it could be temporarily and then get back to it. And I think I've seen somewhere, I could be wrong, that says yazov, something like leave it. That means abandon it altogether. That's not the language here. Can you do a medayik that way?
I hear. Yemein shamacherem lases yazik b'mitzvah v'yaniach. Keep it up. I mean, could be it's a good deal. My understanding of the lashon is that it's not just like I want to go home and do kibbut av, like that's where I need to be. It's more yaniach, like I was engaged to this mitzvah, not physically engaged, but my father asked me. So laniach, like leave it on the side. That's what I understand. But maybe that's a good deal. I'm not sure. I don't know if I think I took a picture of the whole thing. Just interesting. The next halacha, Yud Gimel, is Talmud Torah, Gadol Mikibud Avei. Okay. So what does that mean? What is the sequence here? How do you understand the sequence? Chaim, how do you understand the sequence? Somebody? Nobody? Okay.
I mean, it sounds like we're talking about
learning. Yeah, and if you're already in the middle of learning and your father says, "Can you do me a favor? I'm at yeshiva." Is that a mitzvah? I don't know if that's defined as mitzvah zeros or not, but you wouldn't have to stop your learning to get your father a drink.
No, but Avram, that's the same thing. In other words, you're already engaged in a mitzvah.
No, it has to be stronger. It has to be more than the other one. At Talmud Torah, even before I started, I can go learn.
Okay, that's a chiddush. If you're saying like Avram said, then it's no different than every other mitzvah.
Before.
Same thing. In other words, if you're at a levaya, if you're learning Torah, whatever you're giving tzedakah, whatever you're doing, saying Kriya Shema. So
I just would say it's not a mitzvah of eres.
So Yechiel saying that you have to, the Shulchan Aruch saying a haisafa here, the Talmud Torah Gadol Mikibud Avayim, like if you have to make a choice between one mitzvah and another mitzvah, so do the kibbut av. If it's the Avshar Yidei Acher, so do the other mitzvah. If you're already engaged in the other mitzvah, do the other mitzvah, right? But when it comes to Talmud Torah, it's different. What's the difference? Talmud Torah Gadol Mikibud Avayim. The Talmud Torah is somehow even the what, Yechiel? How are you saying it? If it's Talmud Torah,
then even if I have a choice and I didn't even start yet, so then not yaniach and then go ahead and learn Torah.
Even if you're not engaged.
8 o'clock.
Yeah, I have a shiur. Very good. I have a shiur at 8 o'clock or 9:30, and your father says, "Can you come over?" So you should know Talmud Torah Gadol Mikibud Avayim. So that's not a din of. That's not a din of Osek v'mitzvah pater min mitzvah. It's just telling you that when you have two mitzvahs and you got to choose, so you should choose Talmud Torah. Is that what?
Yeah, but we can also clear to say that maybe Talmud Torah, this is a little bit of a lumdus, that Talmud Torah is always considered a mitzvah of eres, because I got to learn all the time.
That's right. Or it's also very yesodistic. Like, my father's in Borough Park. I want to go to Eretz Yisrael and learn Torah. I want to go to Brisk. It's like you say, it's a mitzvah of eres, and my father's saying, "No, I want you to stay home. I need you to take care of me." It seems to me that's what the Shulchan Aruch is talking about. Once had a big argument about this. Like, you want to make aliyah so that you can learn Torah. Let's talk about Torah. So you want to make aliyah and you want to learn Torah, and your parents want you to stay home because we need your help. Need your help in the business, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So on this, the Shulchan Aruch says these are things that come up every day. On this, the Shulchan Aruch says Talmud Torah gadol mikibud aveim, but it doesn't say, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't say legabe what. Doesn't say Talmud Torah gadol mikibud av. Maybe it means only like it says in the Mishnah, Talmud Torah keneged kulam, right? Elu dvarim sh'adam moichel perisem olam hazav karen kiyamas olam haba kibud aveim, right, etc., gemilas chasadim. But when it comes to Talmud Torah keneged kulam. So what is Talmud Torah keneged kulam? So there's also wissen that Talmud Torah is gadol mikibud aveim.
Can't we say that we're having like a value system? We're saying that there is all other mitzvahs, including kibbud aveim, and with that you have to decide, which comes first. And then there's limud Torah, and on limud Torah, it's like nothing else. Like limud Torah is the highest of that value, and therefore there's not even a competition.
Right. In the lashon of that's what it sounds like right now. In the lashon of the Gemara, it doesn't say, as far as I know, Talmud Torah gadol mikibud aveim. The Gemara says two things. First of all, in the Mishnah that we say every morning, it says Talmud Torah keneged kulam, which is a funny lashon. But I mean, keneged to me means, when I say it every morning, that if I've got 150 mitzvahs on this side, I've got Torah on this side, so Talmud Torah keneged kulam. It can hold its own against all the mitzvahs. Yeah,
like shakul.
Like shakul. Keneged, that's what I think it means. But in fact, so the Gemara says in a different place, the Talmud Torah is shakul kechol hamitzvahs. So if that's what it means like any other mitzvah or even many mitzvahs that you can do, and you have a chance to learn Torah, you should go with the Torah. That's what it seems to be. Talmud Torah keneged kulam. Like if I can learn in Kollel or I can become a big Kabbalah stucker or something, you should learn Torah. It's hard to say this Halachah, and I'll show you why. But whatever it means, the Shulchan Aruch says. I don't know when I took a picture if you have the Taz there.
Could keneged be parallel, meaning you have the option to. They're both parallel tracks. So Talmud Torah keneged kulam. So you have Talmud Torah. You have the option of saying that I'll choose that, or you have the option of choosing the other one. You either option, or does
I'm not clear what
mean it's better.
What are you saying different? In other words, that's shakul. In other words,
like right, it's shakul if it's equal, or like zeh keneged zeh, zeh l'uma zeh, if they're equal. So is the idea that Talmud Torah, unlike other mitzvahs, Talmud Torah is equal with the others. So therefore, one can decide to choose that instead.
Right,
here one must choose that.
Right, and here in the Shulchan Aruch, the lashon is Talmud Torah gadol mikibud aveim. So this is a chiddush, even though we don't usually say gadol, kibud aveim is a big one, and that, by the way, according to the Baragola, is the lashon of the Gemara Megillah Daf Tes Zayin Amud Beis. But the Taz says as follows. He says, how do we know this? There's a Gemara in Megillah. The Taz says Talmud Torah gadol. How do we know it's gadol? So the Taz says, I don't know if I copied it for you there, but if you have a Shulchan Aruch, you'll learn. Nilman me Yaakov. This we learned from Yaakov Avinu. Shenenash b'shvil shloi haya makayim kibud av b'yoser beis Lavan. When he was in the house of Lavan, he was mevatel the mitzvah of kibud av. V'aloisen yudal shanim shalom aretzel shem ve'ever loy nenash. However, even though Rashi says he was afraid that Esav had schusim that he didn't have because he was sitting and learning in Shem Ve'ever, but Metzias, he didn't do Kibbud Aveim, but the fact is he didn't get an onish for it. Whereas apparently the Gemara says he did get an onish for being in the Beis Lavan, or because his answer would have been he should have been learning Torah in the Beis Lavan, right? But that wouldn't have worked because then he was working for Lavan. When you're looking, you're not allowed to learn. That's not what you're being hired to, and that was clear a work ethic situation. So I hope I'm succeeding in confusing the Halachah a little bit. But I'll call upon him. I just want to make this point before we turn the page, that according to the Ramah, which he inserts here, that, however, im hischel b'mitzvah tchila yigmar da'isek mitzvah pater min mitzvah. So all of this question of what's bigger and what's more important, what should you do, mitzvah veres, ef shira yedei acher, all of those things, that's only talking about if you didn't engage in the mitzvah. But once you engaged in the mitzvah, once you're at the levaya, so ein maladaber, once you're at the levaya, that's the fact that you're engaged patters you. That's Rabbi Yossi Aglili, patters you from other mitzvahs. And you would think from here, kal v'chomer, if you're engaged in learning, you're patter from the mitzvah. Why? Because Talmud Torah gadol mikibud aveim, and it's not just a random halacha. The halacha is right here. That's Sif Yud Beis, the Sif Yud Gimel. However, meaning like there's what did you call it before, Yoni? You called it a priority system. What is that what you said? There's a priority
like
system.
A scale, a kind of a scale.
Right, but the biggest priority, it seems, what we learned from this halacha, what we learned today, if nothing else, the biggest priority is what you're doing right now, which is, I believe, a fantastic lesson for Kol HaChaim Kula. Like what I'm doing right now is what I'm doing right now, so do it right and do it correctly, and whether it's B'chinas Avodah, or B'chinas conversation, or B'chinas Torah, this is what I'm doing. My biggest Yetzer Hara, example. I don't want to go into what my biggest Yetzer Hara is, but like, when I'm learning, so like you're learning a halacha, and I'm focused on the halacha, and then the Rabbi Yaacov Haber takes you somewhere else, and I get involved in that halacha, so I come out with nothing, like the whole chop here is that stay focused. So Osek and mitzvah pater min mitzvah, stay focused on what you're doing. That's the right thing to do. There's another mitzvah hovering over me. Leave it alone. Unless, well,
in Pirkei Avot we learn that we don't make the choice between a mitzvah kala and a mitzvah chamura because we don't know the sachar. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu can determine what the sachar is. What we're saying now is, it seems to me, is that it has nothing to do with what's a mitzvah kala or a mitzvah chamura. It has nothing to do with the sachar that one might get for doing a mitzvah. There's an absolute dirug in terms of 613 mitzvot. One of them is above all the others.
And Kibbud Avim is really up there.
It's up there. But like there's also Gemara Menachos.
Ephraim, you're saying a very important point, and I want to reiterate it. And that is that the Pirkei Avos is talking about schar. Schar, what schar you're getting, you don't know. Maybe there's a little mitzvah, you're getting more schar than what you consider to be a big mitzvah. But what we're talking about is not schar, that's a different story. What we're talking about is, I'm overwhelmed. What should I do right now? This one's calling me, that one's calling me. What do I do? A different, and the incorrect way to look at that is, well, where am I going to get more schar? That's what the Pirkei Avos is saying. Don't look at it like that because you don't even know that. We don't even have that information. Yeah. Or for that matter, by the way, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, we also don't know what you're going to get more onesh for in Shemaim. Often the cases you get the onesh, the Gemara says is like, let's say you get chas v'shalom Chaim Misa or something. The onesh is not necessarily telling you that it's a bigger avera, not necessarily. So that's talking about schar. Don't go there. There's a clear pecking order for what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. Now, if I turn the page and you have it right in front of you in Reish Mem Vav, which is not Hilchos Kibbud Avim any longer, but it's Hilchos Talmud Torah. So here the Shulchan Aruch tells us a different lashon, by the way, Sif Yud Ches, Talmud Torah shakul keneged kol mitzvahs. Before he just said it was gadol, right? It was gadol mikol mitzvahs. Just interesting. Ha'ara that the nice Kalim don't make. Why before he said that it was Talmud Torah gadol mikibud aveim.
Right.
But here he's saying Talmud Torah shakul keneged kol mitzvahs. Okay, let's assume that.
And choosing both words. Interesting. Shakul and keneged.
So probably shakul means keneged. That's what he said. Talmud Torah keneged kulam is. But does he mean all the mitzvahs? You mean, in other words, like any mitzvah? That's what he means by kol mitzvahs, I presume, right? It's equal to any mitzvah. In other words, in the ring, Talmud Torah can take on anybody. Any mitzvah you're going to tell me, Talmud Torah can take on. Now, of course, we just said before, there's this idea of a mitzvah veris, like let's say pidyon shvuyim or pikuach nefesh. Okay, let's not do that right now. So says the Shulchan Aruch, he spells this out. Talmud Torah shakol keneged kol mitzvahs. Hayu lefanav asiyas mitzvah v'Talmud Torah. So now, hayu lefanav, right? You have an opportunity to do some mitzvah, let it be even kibbut aveim or something, and you have the mitzvah to go to your shir, Talmud Torah. Im efshir lemitzvah lehe'aseh sayidei acherim. Which mitzvah? The other mitzvah, right? Not the Talmud Torah. If that mitzvah can be done either later or by somebody else, so lo yafsik talmudai. V'im lav yasa mitzvah v'yachzir l'Torasai.
So then the kibbut avim can't be done by anybody else, and then you're stuck. Which takes priority then. So
right. So what ends up the halacha here, Shulchan Aruch and Reish Mem Vav Siv Yud Ches, that if there's a mitzvah kibbut aveim, nobody can do it, right? Even though now is this Shulchan Aruch talking about where you're engaged in Talmud Torah or you're not engaged in Talmud Torah?
The fanav, like meith fanav, in the sense that you're
not engaged.
No, here it sounds like he is engaged in learning.
I say no. Yeah. No, look at the first part. Talmud Torah shakol keneged kol mitzvahs. Let's learn carefully. Haya lefanav. Before you is asiyas mitzvah v'Talmud Torah. You've come to a crossroads. Should I go to the right? Should I go to the left? It means you're not Osek in Torah. Should I go to learn or should I go to do a mitzvah? So the halacha is go to learn. But if you really need it, go to the mitzvah. But then the Shulchan Aruch says, and this is really my kasha for today, Im efshir lemitzvah asayidechem lo yafsik talmudai.
Well, that's...
Comes Yoni and he says, what do you mean lo yafsik? I didn't even start. What does it even mean lo yafsik? And if you'll say to me that lo yafsik means don't be mevatel your shir, which is probably what everybody's thinking. So no, lo yafsik talmud v'im lav yasek ha-mitzvah, yasa mitzvah v'yachzor l'Torasei. So yachzor l'Torasei sounds he's already sitting and learning. So it's just what is the halacha? Is the halacha if I'm about to go learn Torah, I should do the other mitzvah, or even if I'm learning Torah, says the Shulchan Aruch, it's a stira minei obey in the lashon.
Right.
Because the lefanav, you can't have two things in front of you. You're only osik in one of them.
Correct. I'm just the Shulchan Aruch is Seiser Minei Obey. Haya lefanav asiyas mitzvah, so yafsik milimudei.
What siman is this, Rabbi?
Siman Reish Mem Vav Sif Yud Ches. You're there.
Maybe it's alluding to the fact that Talmud Torah is not just a single mitzvah that you do it and then it's done. It's a continuous mitzvah.
Okay. Before we get there, does everyone see the stira? Yes. I looked up the lashon in the Rambam where he gets it from, and the Rambam says there's a lashon of the Rambam. This is in Hilchos Talmud Torah, Perek Gimel Halacha Daled. Haya lefanav. Listen to the lashon here. It's almost the same thing, but Rambam. Haya lefanav asiyas mitzvah v'Talmud Torah. Im efshir lemitzvah le'asas hayidei acherem lo yafsik talmudai. V'im lav yasa mitzvah yachzor Torasei. There's a tiny nuance, but I'm just saying it's not even the Shulchan Aruch made some kind of he's copying from the Rambam directly, that it seems to be that which is a stira minei obey. It's a stira minei obey. And I have to tell you that I'm not a big bucky, but I looked in the Noisei Kelim of the Shulchan Aruch and the Noisei Kelim of the Rambam, and nobody's oimed on the fact. Nobody's oimed on the fact that the Rambam seems to be Seiser himself, except for the Rebbe Kiveger. The Rebbe Kiveger, in my Shulchan Aruch, I didn't copy it to you. Rabbi Akiva Eiger says on the words, Hagois Rabbi Akiva Eiger, and he says about the same thing on the Rambam, Shulchan Aruch and on the Rambam, Hagois Rabbi Akiva Eiger, he wrote in the, Hagois means marginalia, yeah? So in the marginalia of Rabbi Akiva Eiger, he said, Yachsu Terasai, Ayin B'tshuvos Kol ben Levi. Take a look in Shiloh's and Shuvas Kol ben Levi. I have no idea who that is. Maybe somebody here knows. David, you're the type. You know? Kol ben Levi. Okay, Google it. Doesn't sound like a normal thing that Rabbi Akiva Eiger quotes. Ayin B'tshuvos Kol ben Levi b'chidushim al l'shonos b'Rambam. And there he has a place in the Kol ben Levi on L'shonos HaRambam, and take a look there. Paragim Halachah Daled Mehilchos Talmud Torah. So the Rabbi Akiva Eiger sends us back to the Shilos and Shuvas that are talking in the Rambam. He sends us back to the Shulchan Aruch, and the Shulchan Aruch where there's the same stira in the Lashon. Well, I'm assuming that it's talking about the stira in the Shulchan Aruch. It's a stira in the Lashon Minei Obey, which has a tremendous nafkamina and halacha. I will say this, however, halacha l'maisa, and I'm going to go into this in a second, but halacha l'maisa klal gadol bedin, that when it comes to Talmud Torah, you don't say Osek b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah. In other words, like however you want to be miyashiv the steer in the Rambam, the Ramah doesn't say here what he said in Reish Mem. In Reish Mem he said, Hani mili, if you're not Osek in the Levaya yet, but once you're Osek in the Levaya, I see Yoni posted the actual. If you're Osek in the Levaya, so Osek mitzvah pater min mitzvah. The Ramah should have said here, he should have come here and he should have said that, okay, if you're Osek in Talmud Torah already, you're already engaged in the story of Talmud Torah, so then Osek mitzvah pater min mitzvah. So not only he doesn't say that, but he bavarns this, and he says that Yafsik limudai v'yachzor Talmudai. But I'm telling you, halacha l'maisa, that we don't say the klal, Rabbi Yossi Aglili's klal, of Osek mitzvah pater min mitzvah by Talmud Torah.
I guess we say al manas lasos.
Okay, so we could say things, but I'm just want to so
that's the halacha. Got
it. Right, that's the din.
Rebbe, I don't know if this helps, but once asked the Shaila about why don't we go to every chasana? Because it's supersedes Talmud Torah. So I asked by a Levaya, I asked Rav Feldman, and he said, "V'yazer l'limudo is the heter." I wonder if V'yazer l'limudo helps us explain this theory over here.
The actual Torah.
Yeah, the Torah.
The what's usually said, like all the Rosh Yeshivas like to say, that if you're Mavatal Talmud Torah to go to a Chasana Levaya or whatever you're doing, so there's another piece that you have to go back to learning. Otherwise, let's say I go to the Levaya and then I decide I'm out, I'll go shopping. I'll go have a cup of coffee. You're not, so now this is what the Torah of the Rosh Yeshivas, the Rosh Yeshivas say that it's a Gilui Lamafreya, that you didn't stop learning because of the Levaya. Okay, I'm not going to learn today. I have a Levaya, I have to go shopping, I have to meet somebody, like I'm out. So the Yachzor Limudai shows, that's Megala, that the only reason I stopped learning was for the mitzvah. But I think what he was telling you, Yitzchak, was that plus the Yachzor Limudai is not a heter. Yachzor Limudai is a gilui. But what he's saying is that the right answer to you, I don't know what he said, but the right answer to your question is that the reason we don't go to every chasana, if you're sitting and learning, is because the reason you don't go to every chasana is because he has kol tzarchai already. Who says he really needs you?
I have another thought.
I understood that if you went to every chasana, you there was no possibility of ever returning to learning. You live in a city where there's chasana every day.
Okay, I don't want to discuss what he meant because I didn't hear it, but I doubt if that's what he meant. What he's saying, I doubt if that's what he meant, because let's say you're a Rosh Yeshiva, so if you're a Rosh Yeshiva Mir, it's a big Talmud Chacham, so every day you go to a chasana, maybe twice a day. You go to a chasana, so if you're a Rav, like I'm not. Yeah. Okay. There's
What do you want to say? I would offer just a slightly different perspective. Talmud Torah is not a mitzvah overet because it's a mitzvah matmedet. And I'll just give the opposite, from fakir point of view. If I'm always learning, I can use it in inverted commas as an excuse not to do any other mitzvot, because I need patur mitzvah. I need Osek mitzvah. I need patur mitzvah, and that's crazy. You can't exempt yourself from 612 mitzvot just because you're learning.
I think Rav Scheinberg did that, didn't he?
That's a good point.
Yeah, but your point is also a good point, and that's what Avram is saying. Is that like the whole lilmoid is almanas lasos, which okay, lilmoid almanas lasos. So if I'm not going to do anything, which is the Gemara's point, the Gemara says that what are you going to do? Learn. The Gemara makes this point that you're both making, that lilmoid almanas. The whole point is lilmoid lamed lishma v'lasos. Like if you're not lilmoid almanas lasos, so what are you doing? But Rav Scheinberg maybe was doing something else there, like some kind of a Torah lishma. We'll save that for Nefesh Chaim. But what I want to just dwell on for a moment is, first of all, the halachah is very clear, whatever the svar is, that we don't say the klal of Osek b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah by Talmud Torah. So it comes out, how does this Shulchan Aruch work with the previous Shulchan Aruch? It means to say that when I'm learning Torah, even if it's efsher al yedei acher, even if I'm engaged, which is true of everything, if I'm engaged, I'm pater. But even if it's efsher al yedei acher, well, what does he say? Im efsher lemitzvah lasos al yedei acher lo yafsik talmudai. V'im lav yasa mitzvah yachzer l'talmud. In other words, any mitzvah. Let me say different. I'm sorry. Any mitzvah which comes up, which is efsher al yedei acher, you got to go to that mitzvah. So even if you're engaged in the mitzvah, you still have to be mevatel, right? That's what we just learned. That's what we learned in the last 30 minutes. That even if you're engaged in the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, it doesn't help you. So here, a wonderful thing in this Frankel Rambam. So I'm trying to find the sefer. Did you find, Yona, you found the actual sefer, Kol Ben Levi?
Yeah,
right. So I don't know how to do that, but I did look in the Frankel Rambam in the back. There's a thing called Sefer Alikutim, and what he does is he took the lashon of Rabbi Yaacov Haber and he brought the actual source. So we're looking at the same thing, I presume. So here, I was so happy to find this. So here he brings the lashon of the Sefer Kol Ben Levi. I don't know if that is what is this? Is that a Rishon or not? I don't know what it is. Lashon is a Rambam. He dwells on the Lashon is a Rambam. So here the lashon is like
he was nifter in 1752.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's like the time of the Gra around there. V'yesh l'daktek. This is his lashon. V'yesh l'daktek b'divrei Rabbeinu. Let's try to understand the Rambam. The kasha diyuka adiyuka, because you're medayik in the Rambam at the beginning, Rambam Shulchan Aruch, same lashon. You're medayik at the beginning one way, meaning what? That haya lefana of shtei mitzvahs, and you're not engaged in anything. The kasha diyuka diyuka. The masha amar haya lefana v'asiyas mitzvah mashma shayu shteim lefana v'adayin lo hischel lasik ba'achas mehen. That seems to be clear. Meaning, from the Reisha of the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam, if you were already engaged in a mitzvah, even if it's efshar lasos al yedei acherim lo titcha, you keep on doing the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, like the Ran says. And then he goes on to say, however, let's skip a couple lines here. Keep on doing it. Then the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch go on further, and they say lo yafsik talmudei v'yachzer l'talmudei mashmad afilu hischil b'talmud Torah yafsik v'yasem mitzvah she after lasos hayidei acher. Now you got to ask yourself, in the middle of the base matters, you get the text message, and you have to ask yourself only one question: can somebody else do that? If somebody else can't do it, you got to go do it. By the way, I don't think, I'm not sure 100%. I'm just saying a thing here that before we answer all this, I don't know if that applies to somebody who's learning in kollel. Because if you're actually learning in a kollel and you're getting paid to learn, so that's not just the mitzvah Talmud Torah, you're on wage there. So it's not so pashut to me that you have a din of just learning Talmud Torah like you're sitting and learning in your house or you're going to a shir. It could be that a kollel, you have to think about this. If you're actually getting paid to learn, or for that matter, let's make an easier case. Let's say you're a teacher in a school. So I'm doing the Talmud Torah. The name of the place is Talmud Torah. But that's different. You're working there. That's not so simple. That's already a Choshen Mishpat question. So here we're talking about a stira in the Lashonis of the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch. If you've started the mitzvah, are you still patur? Kasha Reisha Sefer, or as he puts it beautifully, Kasha Diyuka Adiyuka. He was a Balashim. V'chein Kasha, and he says, and I have the same question, this whoever he was says, Alatur v'Shulchan Aruch, she'eviu l'shayin zeh. So I was very happy to find that somebody noticed the stira. And to remind, now that I looked around in the Likutim and other places, it seems like he's the only one who noticed the stira, but Rabbi Akiva Eiger brought it. So I'm on target here. Since I'm good with Rabbi Akiva Eiger.
You can say one more time the stira. You can just say it out one more time.
What's the stira?
Yep.
The stira is the beginning of the Shulchan Aruch says that you're not engaged in the mitzvah, and the second part of the Shulchan Aruch says you are. So if you're not engaged in the mitzvah, go to the other mitzvah. If you are engaged, don't. But in the end, he says, Yafsik min limuda, it's mashma that you are engaged.
Is it possible to explain how you lefanov, as there was a choice before him that he hadn't started yet, that he had a choice before him, and that's why so few people found it to be a stira?
That's for sure what it means. What's the question? That doesn't mean anything.
I thought he was medayik from the hayu lefanov. That means that he didn't start yet.
That is what it means. Hayu lefanov. He didn't start yet.
No, I'm asking hayu lefanov. If you have a choice between two things, could mean that you already started, and you have a choice between switching, or saying what you're doing. Hayu lefanov might mean that. Maybe that's
okay.
That's why you.
Dochek gadol. It's a very simple case. If you're in the middle of learning Torah and some other thing comes up, this is an Hilchos Talmud Torah. Anyway, so he answers. I think Robert, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I think he says the opposite of what you said.
Okay.
He says, this is his answer. I should have taken a picture of this for you. The Talmud Torah, Yoni put it on the screen. Okay. The Talmud Torah, so he says like this, Yesh Loimar, the Talmud Torah, Loi Shayach HaSchola Mamish, K'may Shar Mitzvahs. It's impossible, everybody's hinting to this, but I just want to say it clearly. The Talmud Torah is different than every other mitzvah, meaning even if you're engaged in the mitzvah, it's a different kind of halacha. Why? The Talmud Torah lo shayach haschola mamish k'may shar mitzvahs. Why? The Gabi Talmud Torah kol perek v'perek or mishnah v'mishnah afilu dibur echad mitzvah shleima chashiva. It's the opposite of what you said. Every single sifkatan is a new mitzvah for some reason. Mashen came b'shar mitzvahs yesh lem gvul umida. So this is interesting. Like one of the characteristics of Talmud Torah, it seems from here, is it doesn't have a gvul and it doesn't have a midah. But whatever, I don't want to interpret this right now. But what he's saying is by Talmud Torah, every time you start a parak, every time you start a shir, every time you start a new halacha, it's like a new thing. Hefsek, 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 hefsek. Now
I would add something. Not only is there no beginning, but there's also no end.
Which seems to sound like what he's saying, because he says, Mashenkin b'shar mitzvahs yesh lem gvul umidah. So, for instance, and he explains this, by the way. We don't have to Yeshlem Gvul Umida, just very small, I'm sorry. Mikol Malkim Talmud Torah, Nami Talmud Torah Yitzdak Loshen Hefsik Mitzad Echad. On the one hand, it is a hefsek because I'm engaged in Talmud Torah doing another thing and another thing. Every single drop you learn, I'm doing another mitzvah. In other words, it's not an all or nothing deal. Yeah, I give you an example. Let's say you're starting to do a bris milah, not going, doing. So you do half and then you get called away to another mitzvah. So besides for the fact that that's ridiculous and irresponsible, bris milah, you didn't do the mitzvah bris milah. You can't say you did a little bit of bris milah. Like, give me a little bit of credit. No, you left the kid hanging. But mashenke by Torah, if you can chaper to learn 2 minutes of Torah, you learn 2 minutes of Torah. Chaper 10 minutes, noch better. But it's not. But it says here, Masha Asa Lilmaid Hu Mitzvah V'Fnei Asmei Mashenke Mishar Mitzvahs. Oh, keep going mal v'lay para. Let's say you did a milah and you didn't do a priya. The kol mitzvah achas v'shayich b'zei aschal. It has a beginning, it has an end. No, let's not fool ourselves. The moil starts and he stops. So what does he mean? What's he saying over here? So what comes out? Listen to this line. I underlined it in my book. The Talmud Torah mikri la'olam haya lefanav. Talmud Torah is always called haya lefanav. Because if I get a call right now, we're in the middle of learning Torah, so it's haya lefanav. But on the one hand, on the other hand, every minute that I keep on going on, in time, over time, is a new mitzvah. Why is that a new mitzvah? I'm not sure exactly, but it's not. You're not doing. It's not like a milah. Maybe it's just the eternal nature of Torah, but it's not like a milah which has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then the mile goes home. There's nothing more to do. But Mashenke Torah, there's always more to do. And so therefore it says it's always called, the way he says it is a chiddush, it's always called a haya lefanav. And nevertheless, it's always a new mitzvah.
It's like a river that's always flowing.
Yeah, like a river that's always flowing, but it's always new water.
Right.
It's always new water. Mayim miskaber. Right. So what you have here, so let's go back and be miyashev the Shulchan Aruch. Maybe this is what you meant a little bit. That it's haya lefanav in the sense that you could be in the middle of the mitzvah and be haya lefanav. I still have a new choice to make because otherwise I'm always haya lefanav, meaning I'm always able to be mafsik Torah because every word is a new mitzvah. Not because I'll learn the sugya tomorrow or this is a new sugya, a new parak, a new daf, a new halacha. No, because every word is a new mitzvah. And since every word is a new mitzvah, which is a big kiddush, every word is a new mitzvah, so there's always a makam lahafsik. So it's always called a haya lefanav on the one hand. On the other hand, you're never called, you can never say, is this true or false, by the way? You can never say, Osek b'mitzvah pater min ha-mitzvah by Talmud Torah. So is that true or false?
True.
If nobody else can do the mitzvah, maybe you can do the mitzvah.
So is that true? Because if it's true, if you never say Osek b'mitzvah, even though klal gadol b'din, you don't say Osek b'mitzvah pater min ha-mitzvah by Talmud Torah, then why do you have to wait for efshar al yedei acher or efshar al yedei acher? So maybe on this, the Shulchan Aruch says the reason for that is back to Reish Mem, because Talmud Torah gadol mikli b'dav. Right. So in other words, the reason why we don't say, in other words, you would say Osek mitzvah pater min ha-mitzvah. So, but we don't say it by Talmud Torah. So then, if you don't say it, so obviously I should be mevatel a mitzvah. He says Aver dalacha, that all things being equal, Talmud Torah is bigger than kibbutz. So therefore, if it's efshar al yedei acherim, you should drop the Torah and go do the mitzvah. Nachon?
If the whole Torah is to be Makayim the mitzvahs, that means you're not being Makayim any other mitzvah besides.
I don't hear you. I don't hear you, Yaakov. I don't hear you.
You never shake a lulav or esrog. You never do any mitzvah. All those mitzvahs just pale in regards to Talmud Torah, and all those.
Well, that might be ef shara yedei acher.
Well, somebody else will take a lulav and esrog.
What's that helping you? It's a mitzvah shebagufa.
Right. Every mitzvah shebagufa. So in every mitzvah shebagufa, you don't say Talmud. We don't say.
No, you don't say every mitzvah. Look, we would think that every time there's a mitzvah shebagufa, you say it's ef shara yedei acher. But I ask you this question. And this is his week, yeah? So did he shake the lulav or not?
Because he didn't daven, right? He didn't go to.
He didn't daven.
That's a mitzvah shebegufo, right?
I'm not sure if he said Kriya Shema. The Gemara is a Shaila and Brachas whether he said Kriya Shema or not.
And that's a mitzvah shebegufo.
Yeah. Scheinberg Yochai was engaged. He certainly was an Osek in Parnasa. And he left all the mitzvahs, it would seem, to other people. So did he shake a lulav or not? Impossible for me to believe
that he didn't.
Right. I'm not. I mean, maybe you'll find a Gemara. The truth is, we did say over Gemara and Shabbos, if anybody was in shul, or hopefully remember, that Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, after the whole story happened with the cave, and he went back and he went forth and he went out. So he said his lashon was, "Hayol di yisrachish li nisa nasa adam b'tikun nasa davar b'tikun olam." So since I had a nest, the right thing to do is I have to give back. And what can I do? And he started to pave roads and show people how to get around the cemeteries and stuff. But you see, he did do other things besides learning Torah, but okay, just Kriya Shema, Punk Kriya Shema, I didn't say. But okay, like I'm getting out of time, but maybe you want me to say one more thing about this. But what we have here, Halachah, I want to end up with Halachah Psuka. Halachah Psuka is that, first of all, Rabbi Yaakov Haber says a din, Osek b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah. So there's a huge difference in this, whether you're engaged in a mitzvah or you're not engaged in a mitzvah. If you're not engaged in a mitzvah, your priority, in fact, should be Talmud Torah, because that's a big mitzvah. If you are engaged in a mitzvah, so then you stick with that mitzvah. Levayas hames, stick with that mitzvah. If it's efshar al yedei acher, so now it depends. It's efshar, nobody's there to feed my father but me. If it's Talmud Torah, close the Gemara. If you're at a Levaya, stay at the Levaya. So I come to Halachah. It's an interesting Halachah.
Rabbi Haber.
Yeah.
What happens, we learn in Nefesh Chaim that if in the world there's nobody learning Torah, then the hospital in the world go back to Torah Ball. So it would seem that the setup would have to be that the Torah has to be the mitzvah that always has to be done by somebody.
Nefesh Chaim says that there's different time zones in different places in the world, and we can rest assured that there's always 36 people learning Torah or 10 people learning Torah. That's exactly why Hashem set up the world the way He did. The sun going around the sun and all that. But look, we're not. You're right. I mean, but we're not talking about the world. We're talking about what's my personal priority system. So the halacha psuka that we have in my personal priority system is that, and he's saying a hesber in the steer and the l'shainos, that when it comes to Talmud Torah, first of all, it's almanas la'asos, but it's deeper than that. Apparently, it's that every mitzvah is every word of Torah is a new mitzvah. So the Rosh Hashiva Zatzal used to not say this Rebbe Kiva, but he often quoted the Gra. The Gra says simply, or not so simply, the Gra says, I think it's in the Evan Shlema, that every word of mitzvah is another Torah. Every word of Torah is another mitzvah. Meaning, So he says, he spells this out, the Vilna Gaon. He says that you're learning one Amud Gemara, you could do between 200 and 250 mitzvahs. Right there. And this is how he explains Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. Meaning, like, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam is not just like, it's deeper to learn Torah. But this is like the flip side of what this Rabbi Kiva or whatever is the Kol Ben Levi is saying. That it's not just that every second I'm starting another mitzvah. It's deeper than that. It's every second is a new mitzvah comes out that just in the last hour alone, we're Makayim 1,000 mitzvahs. So what are you going to do? You keep it off aim and do one mitzvah. So Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam means it's a lot of mitzvahs. But now we're saying, and Rosh Hashanah made this point, that's the upside of Talmud Torah. Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, Gadol Mikol HaMitzvahs, Shakol Kol HaMitzvahs, whatever lashon you want to use. And he certainly was Makayim Hasmat of Talmud Torah. Nevertheless, when something is all that being said, when something's Ef Shara Yedei Acher, you stop learning Torah. Why? Because as the Shiloh and Shuvas Kol Ben Levi says, and it fits in perfectly with the Gra, because Sof Kol Sof, you're starting new every second. So finish your word and go do the mitzvah. So the upside of Talmud Torah is they've done 1,000,000 mitzvahs. But the so to speak downside of Talmud Torah is, or the kula of Talmud Torah is, that you're doing a bunch of different mitzvahs, and every second you're starting a new mitzvah. And so the Gra works with this very, very well. And being that every second is a new mitzvah, so you b'chlal can't say, I'm saying more than he's saying. You can't say Osek b'mitzvah patur min mitzvah because you're never an Osek b'mitzvah. You're never in the middle of a mitzvah. You're always in between mitzvahs when you're learning Torah.
That's like a huge chiddush.
Yeah, that's a big chiddush.
Because every time I'm in Seder, 9 hours,
right.
you know.
Right. Unless, like I say, there's a different aspect to it, which I'd like to discuss, but we're out of time. There could be different aspects, like you're a Rebbe, you're on wage, the shir needs you, something like that. Because and we're going to keep in mind with this that Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. Sof Kol Sof in your priority system, Talmud Torah always comes before other mitzvahs. So if somebody says to you, look, you want to come with me fundraising and I'm going to learn. So l'chayra learning goes first, unless nobody else can do it. Then you have a question. That is the priority. But Mevatlan Talmud Torah. Okay, I'm going to leave it with this. I'm gonna.
Let's discuss that the decision tree again. So if you're doing nothing, do Talmud Torah. If you
well,
have,
that's for sure. If you're doing nothing, you do Talmud Torah. Yeah.
Right. So they're saying, no, the Rav lets out the Halachah Psuka said if it's you're not doing either one and you're something that can't be done by somebody else, you should do the one that can't be somebody else. Then if you're involved in another mitzvah, you don't have to stop. I'm a little confused. Unless there's also
it's not confusing. You're making it confusing. It's very simple. Yeah. On every mitzvah in the Torah, we say Osek b'mitzvah patur min mitzvah.
Okay.
Except for Talmud Torah, we don't say Osek b'mitzvah patur min mitzvah. Nekuda.
Okay.
Because each thing is a separate mitzvah. Let's say each word is a separate mitzvah. So why is it that I should only be mevatel Torah if it's efshar al yedei acher? And the answer is because if somebody else can do it, sof kol sof, Torah is a bigger mitzvah because I'm doing 1,000 mitzvahs. I always tell you the story. Yaakov, are you still here? I always say the story that one time I came late to the base medrash by Rav Scheinberg, and he was standing by the door. So he always stand by the door to make sure everybody comes on time. But he stand by the door, so he had tried to sneak by him, but he grabbed my arm and he says, "Where were you yesterday?" I was a chassan. So I said, "Yesterday, I didn't want to get into the pictures of this." I said, "Yesterday, I had something to do." So, so you only come here when you have nothing to do. So that says the whole thing, because like if you have nothing to do, obviously there's always something to do. There's always something more important to do. You take care of your kids, entertain your wife, your husband, whatever you're doing. But Talmud Torah is Keneged Kulam, unless it's the Efshar Yedei Acher, then you're stuck. And hanimili, like I say, if you're not on some kind of a contract to be learning Torah, that might be different than the whole thing. Or let's say even a yeshiva bacher, you go into yeshiva, you're like, there's an agreement, you're going to be here. Like Mapi told me not here. Like that's you made a commitment. That commitment is different. Okay.
Can I just ask
have a good vach. Yeah.
Can I?
Yes.
Sorry, it's a bit difficult to understand. Each word is a separate mitzvah, or it's like you finish a posuk and you're pondering the posuk. So you're not doing, because you're not saying it, or you're not doing a mitzvah. The actual mitzvah of sort of pondering it and thinking about it is the actual mitzvah.
I don't think it has anything to do with dibur. I don't think it has anything. It's like a separate issue. I think every second I think about a sugya, I'm understanding it deeper. I'm understanding it better. If I speak it out, I understand it better. So the deeper you go, just like the wider you go, is a new mitzvah, Talmud Torah. Let's go a little deeper.
There's no beginning or end as such.
Right, but there's no beginning, there's no end. This idea is the opposite of what was said before. Because what we said before was because there's no beginning and no end, so of course you have to be involved with Talmud Torah. Adarabah. So it's like put for care. That because there's a beginning and an end every second, let me go a little bit more, let me speak it a little more, let me hop another second. So there is a beginning and end over and over and over again. It's the opposite of what was said before. It's counterintuitive. And that's why, because there's 1,000 mitzvahs on a page, or 1,000 thoughts that you can be having, Hashem will sort it out. I don't think you have to count, like another thought. Hashem will sort out. But yet everyone is a new mitzvah. Okay, I got to go. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good day.